coming. I'm going to so karibuni sana. My fellow Kenyans, first let me be very and at the same time disgusted, but All Saints Cathedral on Friday. If some of you recall, 34 years ago, happened at All Saints Cathedral. Peace with goons, red and grandmothers who had gone to some corner because of their sons. And All Saints Cathedral became the refuge of goons. Actually, the church, by the then Moi regime, people who are simply advocating for the political of our people. That regime displaying itself. People who have innocently debate our economic budget are goons protected. And I want to tell you, it in times of the regime of William Ruto, there are signs more and more every. So we want to say, you All Saints Cathedral, and we treat with you during this time. We know those culprits. We know the impunity, but God sees all faith. The second thing I want is the finance bill. On a total rejection of the finance bill. The finance bill levy taxes 120 billion shillings from us. We cannot afford it. That is not going to help us. It's not a people's budget. It's a budget on sustaining illegal borrowing and a government continuing its impunity on us. I urge Parliament to completely reject. Kenyans can no longer is not direct tax to us. We know we are going to bear the burden put on anybody that manufactures. That cost comes to us. Don't try and. The CS had previously promised that he was going to reduce taxation. And we all know why. We are alive in the lies of this regime. The third point I would like is I was very happy to see my good friend Aden Duale Thursday last week, when the budget acknowledged important aspect of finances. Who, as you well know, is an insider, is a CS in this regime, Aaron Cheriot, except one thing. He said has been illegal borrowing and the Uhuru regime period. Thank you, Aden Duale. we've been making about audit. Now, if that is the case, why does this regime pay? The only reason you are paying debts that you are claiming exist. Note, these illegal debts have been even mentioned by the Controller of Budget. The government of yours is still illegal debts is because you must be accomplices. Either in that illegality, and prove to us that you're not by stopping to claiming were done by Uhuru Kenyatta. Cut them off today, Bwana. Cut them off, Bwana Badi, William Ruto. Cut them from these charges, more taxation. Kindly cut them off, that you are not part and party that you claim were taken during Uhuru. There's something else Adan Duale said. He said that this regime of theirs, under which not taking illegal debt. And this, if you look at what is called estimates, which we are going to circulate, those copies are going to tell you that in those budget estimates, Article 220 of the Constitution, the revenue estimates the budget is going to collect, the grant that they wish Parliament to pass in the financial year. If you look, when we are circulating these copies, you will aspect called domestic debt loans, domestic borrowing. Last week, CS Bandi said borrow 1.0 in the domestic market this coming financial year. To look at the page, the table of contents, budget estimates before Parliament, calculate as net domestic borrowing at page 20. When you go to page 24, you will find net domestic borrowing number. It does zero and has never existed. If you look at each column, has never. So this claim being legal, it is not. It is never passed by Parliament this year. So they are, apart from the illegality, that we know this domestic borrowing, and there's nobody really domestic debt to the tune of 7 trillion market. This is fake. 2, anybody that is now that you are buying treasury bills and bonds this next financial year, no, it has not been passed by Parliament, never be paid. We are not sovereign to it. Buyer beware. It is your risk. That paper, you throw it in the dustbin. This regime will change, and it's going to change next year. Not be honored. I advise you, and I advise all, do not buy a treasury bill. Do not buy to do with treasury bills or bonds. It's completely fake. Point. I just have 6 points. I want to make a comparative so-called media, the people's budget. I don't know people, because colleagues, and I will say they are my colleagues because we are in the called Kalonzo Musyoka. They call themselves the United Opposition. The people's budget. They claim a people's budget. People's budget is to John Bundy's budget. Tax, debt, and borrowing. It proposes the same illegal borrowing of 500 billion. Please, Mosioka and my good colleagues, you're letting us down. You cannot continue the. You are just doing the same thing as Ruto. Difference to what you're proposing. Change people's lives. Please do something. And stop letting us down in the opposition. This is not how you're going to conduct the people's affairs. In trouble. So, shape up. And please get that message with the way it is. Goodwill. I don't mean it in any other way. About 60 million Kenyans that are having a very hard time. A very, very hard time. It's very simply this, that we are suffering about our budget. Our targets are saying we will never borrow from the domestic market because we need to. We clearly not pay this odious debt. See, the Ruto regime is claiming to be debt. Here are tutalipa. 2028 financial year. It is going to be 2.8 trillion in debt. And because we won't pay, our taxes will be cash rich by. When you're cash rich at 2.8 trillion, Kenyans. The first thing we are going to do that primary school, high school, and TVET to the standard of living that year shall be paid. That to be just under 400 billion shillings. Paid. From that money we are. So no parent shall take money towards primary, high school, or any TVET program. Universities later. Is that we are saying we shall scrap completely NHIF or whatever other health levies that are put on. Universal health care has been 180 billion shillings per year. So your ID will universal health care no matter where you are, even from your pocket. That. The third, and we shall scrap VAT as we shall seek to scrap VAT, replace it with a simple 5%. That will become a benefit in the pockets of roughly 300 billion shillings back into the pocket. With just those, we intend to inject roughly 8 as a stimulus to be kept in people's pockets. They do not have to remove it anymore. And we are a growth to 6, 7, and hopefully fourth year 10% growth rate. This carrot is going to be the fact that we are not. When you don't borrow domestically, for innovation and people who are self-employed, manufacturers, to go and seek, people are capitalized, creators, they will have money access rates. We hope we can drive it to about 5. This happened during Kibaki's time to drive to a single digit to Kenyans. That is what I'd like. Yes, Emmanuel. Number one, Emmanuel. First and foremost, let Bandi show you what debt is. Because in the budget test, domestic debt does not exist. But he can assert that it is at less risk than any other debt. Say you are to borrow for development. Domestic debt is the most expensive for development. 10%. Foreign concessionary goes for 2%. Whether it's Chinese, whether it's bilateral, offered liberally. The only risk is currency. I can assure you, it is less risky to Kenyans. Because remember, taxes. So the burden is on us. The third, those are all good ideas. Samurai bonds. We don't need debts. We are paying illegal debts. We don't. And all those swaps, all telling us for the last 3 years, they've never happened. We don't allow it. Anybody who looks at us can see that is going to do any debt swap with Kenya. Every 3 years, it don't happen. So let them stop language. You know, we know the treasury. We are bankrupt as a nation, and that bankrupt us as citizens. Any other question? Yes. I am rooting for real, not just the same thing, change but without change. I'm rooting, not a question of one candidate. Your own assertions in the please understand that even the one candidate 2017, before that there were 3 of credibility on the ballot. Are looking to remove this regime. That is, but we don't want to replace it with a bit of the. I don't think Kenyans can stomach it anymore. So, not change without change. Has that answered your question? Joker and his united opposition come to John Bandi. That's not change. Illegal borrowing is not change. Sorry? I'm willing to work with anybody. And I'll tell you my biggest change aspect. That illegal debt. And says we are not going to pay this debt. Okay, we are the best. You can say it. then you do what you want to. Asanteni sana. God bless you.